Hi there, my name is Michael. I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks on how to set up your new FG Taifun edger. I'm going to run through a series of little tips and tricks that I do to the FG edger just to get it running at its optimal performance. First of all, I'm going to show you the first modification to make to the wrench. Step 1. Take off the nut on the bottom. Now what you're going to notice on the bottom of this is that those little lugs actually stick past the nut. So what we're going to do is we're going to grind those little lugs off. We're going to grind those little lugs off so that they are on the right angle. And what that will do is that will stop those little lugs pushing the wrench away from the bolt, from the nut, giving the ability to put proper pressure on the nut that will secure the disc to the edger. Grind the little lugs off till they're on the right angle so that they don't hit the sandpaper when putting pressure on the top of the wrench. I find it best to always run the edger with a felt pad on the bottom. That brings the sandpaper out a little bit, which makes the FG edger sand a little bit flatter. That can be stuck directly over this Velcro film if you like. It does stick okay, but I do prefer to pull this Velcro film off just to get a little bit better adhesion. Make sure that plate's nice and clean. Looks nice and clean after pulling that Velcro film off. So this should stick straight on there, no problems. I like to put this centerpiece in. What that does is it stops the center of the disc crinkling up a little bit when you tighten down that bolt. I like to put the handle on with the gooseneck facing forward. It does reduce how close you can get to some walls, but what it does do is it gives you a little bit more control over the pressure on the front of the edger. Always do this top bolt up first. The standard bumper guard on the front of the FG Taifun is a two-piece Velcro system. It works just fine, and you can set it up using this two-piece Velcro system, but what I like to do is I like to remove it and put on just a one-piece Velcro system, which I'll show you how to do now. I'm going to be using the soft part of the Velcro, and once you've cut it to the right length, you can stick it right on the front. This Velcro you can buy for 20 metres, about 20 metres of it for about $25 from Bunnings. And I have found that 25 metres lasts about, I think about 6 or 7 years as you replace them as you go. Although you'll set up your FG edger the way that you like to run it, I like to run a piece of 60 or 40 grit cloth back or nylon back paper on top of the felt pad, and then run my selected grit on top of that. It also protects the felt from being cut up in case you hit a nail as well, or a staple. To bolt your disc down, simply place the nut right in the middle, obviously, put the wrench on top, a little bit of pressure on top of that wrench just to get the thread to bite in, and turn the whole disc as you turn the wrench as well. That should tighten down very quickly and very easily. The first few times that you do put your new disc on, you're going to want to tighten that nut down really tight just to get that shape on the new discs. The next thing you're going to want to do is test how close the edge gets to the wall. And you also want to make sure that the disc, the felt pad, and also the base plate is not hitting the skirting boards at all. If you find that the felt pad is hitting the skirting board on the initial startup, what you do is you turn on the machine and hold a piece of 40 grit against that felt pad just to knock that edge down a little bit, and that'll take that back and stop that hitting that skirting board. You may have to do that once or twice just to get it right. The next step is to take note whether this steel plate is hitting the skirting board. If it is, what you do is you simply just get your grinder, turn on the machine, and run your grinder against the edge of that steel plate just to take that back a little bit. The floor I'm on right now has tapered skirting boards. That makes it very hard to be able to adjust your edger properly. You always, when you're first setting up your edger, make sure that you've got skirting boards that sit 90 degrees to the floor so that you can set it up properly. The next video that you will see, I'll be on a different floor with better skirting boards, and I'll show you how to adjust this front to knock off the whole front just a little bit, just to get your edger running right up against the skirting board without touching it. So now that I've taken a little bit off that felt pad, you can see that the felt pad isn't touching anymore, but you can see that line just there. That means that that steel disc is slightly touching. So what I'm going to do now is grind a little bit more off that steel disc, just to take that back a bit until we don't see that line. Always take that steel plate back in stages. Just do it little by little bit until you get it perfect, and always test it with a new disc as well. I choose to use SIA discs because they are slightly bigger than the Norton discs. And once you've got that adjusted perfect, you should be able to get right up to the edge there without marking the skirting board at all. Another slight modification that I do is I just take a little bit off this front edge as well, just that top lip, just so that when you're putting a little bit of pressure on the front of the edger, that front lip clears the skirting board as well. Hope you enjoyed this short video on how to set up your FG edger. I'll do some more videos to come on a few other random things like changing brushes, changing switches, changing belts, and all those sorts of things too.